Have you ever sold a 2K program, but it took you 1 or 2 hours to even close them? Or even worse, you didn't close them at all? And so what do? You post more videos, you send more DMs, you book more calls, and the same thing happens over and over again. And that was the same problem that my clients were having. And we fixed all of that, and you can see right here the results that we were able to achieve. Now, I can tell you something. 90% of the calls that don't close don't fail in the calls itself. The call was set up to fail way before it even happened. And it's not because of your offer, your pricing, or your delivery. It all happens because there's a lack of trust and information caused by your content and the platform that you're on. Now let me walk you through what actually happens when someone books a call with you off Instagram. These people interact with your content, and you or them send a DM to see how the problem works. And then there's a bit of back and forth in the DM, and you convince them to hop on a call with you. That's perfect. But from there, you already know how that goes. Now, let me ask you a question. How many times have you bought something after you watched 2 reels and talked to someone an hour on the phone? Not many times, right? That's because usually we as humans, when we make a big purchase, we want to make sure about what we buy. Let's make an example. When you want to buy a new car, do you just go to the dealership and get closed by the guy? Probably not. Or do you binge watch a bunch of videos of reviews, watch the website and the info on that car? That's more likely. And so from the first time you see the car that you like, a bunch of time passes where you watch information and you convince yourself that that's a good purchase. Now let's go back to our call. From the first time they ever saw your face to the moment they were sitting on a call with you, were they able to spend enough time with you? And did you give them the right material to watch? Probably not. Now think about what that actually means. You have at best maybe 20 minutes of proper attention from this person and 10 minutes of them half watching your stuff between 3 other reels, a bunch of notifications they're getting while they're sitting on the toilet. And now you're on a call pitching your program and you're expecting them to hand you 2,000, 5,000, maybe 10,000 based on the time that they had with you. Of course they're going to say, let me think about it. You're a stranger asking them for a big financial leap. And so you're not gonna close them unless you're an absolute monster at sales. You haven't done the work that needs to happen before the sales call even happens. And this is just me guessing. You can see right here that Google conducted a study in 2011, the 0 moment of truth. And what they found out was this: before a buyer is ready to purchase from you, they need roughly 7 hours of interaction with your brand across 11 separate touchpoints in 4 different locations. 7 hours. That's a full workday of your face, of your voice, your ideas living in their head. Even if they watch 100 videos that are 1.5 minutes long, that's just 2.5 hours of time with you. And that's already optimistic, because most fitness coaches are trying to close people at minute 20. And that sales doesn't happen at minute 20. The sales happen somewhere around hour 4. And if you haven't engineered those first 2 hours before the call, you're gonna have to do the heavy lifting on the call, which brings us to the actual problem. Instagram breaks down for what you're trying to do. And look, I'm not saying that Instagram is useless. It's fine for awareness, for social proof, and quick hit visibility. But as a primary vehicle for rebuilding those 7 hours of trust, it's working against you. I mean, just think about what Instagram actually is as a product. You open the app right now. You got a feed designed to keep you scrolling. Every second there's a new reel. And so there's a different creator, different topic, and you get a different dopamine hit. And so Instagram's whole model is to keep you in the feed, not on one particular profile. And so when someone watches your reels on Instagram, they're in what I call the casino mode. They pull the lever, they get a dopamine hit, and they pull the lever again. And so they're not really trying to evaluate you. They're not building a relationship with you. They're gambling for the next dopamine hit. And your reel is just a pull of the lever. But now compare that to what actually happens with someone it's on YouTube. It's a different app, and your brain perceives it completely differently. YouTube is not like a slot machine, it's closer to a cinema. And so you sit down, you pick a video, you commit to watching 15, 20, 30 minutes of it. And just remember this, a huge chunk of YouTube viewing happens on the TV, in the living room with people leaned back with a coffee in hand. The person that's watching a YouTube video, it's in a completely different psychological state than the person who's watching reels on Instagram, especially if you're actively looking for a solution to a problem that you have. And that's basically the first unfair advantage of YouTube, because before you've even said a single word, the platform already put your viewer in a state of mind that makes trust possible, and Instagram actively prevents that. Now let's talk about the second point. How do people actually use each platform? Because this is where it gets worse for Instagram. Nobody opens Instagram to solve a problem, ever. Think about the last time you opened Instagram. Were you looking for an answer to something? No, you were bored, you were procrastinating, you were killing time in the bathroom, and that's what Instagram is for. But now think about when you open YouTube. Do you type something in the search bar because you're interested? Probably yes, because that's what YouTube is. Besides entertaining, it's also a question engine. People come to YouTube with a specific problem that they want solved. How to lose fat without cardio. best hip mobility routine for desk workers, why I'm not losing weight in a deficit. And these are people that are actually raising their hand and saying, I have this problem, solve it for me. And if you are the coach whose videos answer that question, you've already done something that Instagram can never do. You've intercepted the prospect in the exact moment they were looking for someone like you. And now here's where things get really interesting. YouTube creates a nurturing ecosystem where your prospect doesn't watch just one video. They binge, and so they find one of your videos, it answers their questions, and YouTube algorithm immediately recommends 3 more. They watch one, then another, and before they know it, they're 40 minutes in. Then they open a second tab and they check out your channel, and that night they watch one more video in bed. By Tuesday, they watch 6 of your videos. And by the end of the week, they hit Google's 7-hour threshold, without you doing anything and without them even knowing that they are being nurtured. On Instagram, the same hours of attention would take months of posting daily and praying that the algorithm shows them your stuff, which often doesn't. So YouTube compresses the 7-hour threshold that would have taken 6 months on Instagram in a single weekend. And it also does it in a more efficient way. There's no distractions, people watch it with more concentration, and you can explain a concept cohesively from start to end. Now this part right here is interesting because it's pure magic, and people don't really understand it until they have experienced it themselves. A reel that you post today has a lifespan of about 48 hours. Maybe 72 if it pops off. But after that, it's completely dead. The algorithm stops serving it. And so 6 months from now, that reel that you spent hours filming and editing, it's doing absolutely nothing for your business. But with a YouTube video, it's completely different. A YouTube video that you post today, it's going to work for you in 2030. 3 years from now, that same video that you shoot this weekend could still be bringing boot calls to your calendar. Let's take Aldo for example. We uploaded one of his videos in his coaching channel. And at first, it didn't bring anyone in. But a few months later down the line, it actually started booking calls. Now, I'm not going to tell you why that happened because I don't know it myself, but it just did. And this is the magic of YouTube. And that's not all, because here comes the best part. Because you don't need to depend on YouTube's algorithm. In fact, it works best when you pair it with Instagram. Let's say someone DMs you or you DM someone. Instead of handling a long conversation, you could ask them what is wrong and redirect them to a video that solves their problem. And it will naturally bring that person inside your ecosystem. And so a video that you recorded 6 months ago can answer questions better than any DM ever could. And be the start of a cycle that leads to the close while you don't have to do anything. And that's what an asset actually means. Something that works for you in places that you're not. And that same mechanism can be pushed higher uphill with your reels, for example. Have you ever seen one of those accounts where people post a reel and the caption says, comment the word fat down below and I'll send you my free fat loss guide. And there's 400 people that comment the word fat down below and the creator DMs every single one of them. Now that's not a gimmick, because sometimes they send you a PDF that asks you for an email and it starts nurturing you through the email. And other times, it sends you to YouTube. But instead of you having to find out the problems in the DMs, the algorithm on Instagram does that for you. And so closing just with Instagram isn't your best strategy. In fact, Instagram is simply where you catch attention. The feed is your entire ocean. The reel is your net. And you saying comment this word down below is how you pull what you caught onto the boat. But the boat is the place where the actual work happens, and it's somewhere else entirely. In this case, YouTube as a nurturing platform. And all of these things work in symbiosis together. Now, it all sounds good in theory, but you actually need to have content that can convert someone. But this is not something that I'm going to tackle on this video. I'm going to have a different video for that. And if you're interested, I actually have a service where I do the whole marketing part for you, so that you as a fitness coach only have to worry about coaching someone. Down below, there's going to be a link to watch the full breakdown on the method, and from there you can see what you want to do with it. See you in the next one.